Hello everybody, Niklas Heidloff here. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how you can set up and configure your Eclipse IDE to run our simple Hello World sample called My Social Web App against IBM SmartCloud for Social Business. The process to set up the Eclipse IDE has become really simple. Dependent on your network connectivity, it takes roughly 15 minutes. There's a document or page called Building My First Social Application in the wiki of the Social SDK on GitHub. In this video I won't do a live demo, but I just want to highlight some of the key steps. First of all, you need to download a couple of things. The Eclipse IDE for Java Enterprise developers. You also need a Java runtime, and you need to download Apache Tomcat. And after that you need to change the Java compiler settings to JDK compliance level 1.6. Just real quick, here's how you can do that. Under Window, Preferences, and then Java compiler, you can define your compiler compliance level right here, either globally or you can also do it on a project level. Now after you have done that, you need to clone the Social SDK Git repository. The Eclipse IDE for Java developers comes with this Git repository exploring perspective, and essentially you only point to this URI here on GitHub. After that you can find all of these sources locally, in my case in the directory users IBM admin. Then in the next step you need to configure the Tomcat server. So you can follow these first 6 steps, and then right here is where you define that the sample is supposed to work against IBM Connections on IBM Greenhouse, which is a hosted version of IBM Connections on premises. Now what I'm going to do in a minute is to show you how you can change this configuration to work against IBM SmartCloud for Social Business. Just before I do that, in the last step here you need to import 2 required projects. There is an import wizard under Import Maven existing projects, and then you need to import these 2 projects right here, and after that they show up in your Project Explorer. And again, that's really all you need to do to set up this Hello World example to work against IBM Connections on IBM Greenhouse. Next, I'm going to describe how you can change the configuration to work against IBM SmartCloud for Social Business. In order to do that, you need your own test organization on IBM SmartCloud. And there are different trials available. This one here is the IBM SmartCloud Engage for 60 days trial. For partners, there are other trials available for a full year. You can follow these steps here to create and configure your own test organization. After that, you can access your test organization here as an admin using the admin user interface. There's a page called Internal Apps where you can register apps and create OAuth tokens. For example, here an OAuth 2.0 token. Now, since I forgot here the callback URL, let me open up the app that I use here in my example. And here's the callback URL that you need to define in the earlier step. Localhost and then port 8443, and it points to OAuth 2.0 to the OAuth 2.0 callback. After you have done that, you need to copy here the client ID and client secret. Then switching to the Eclipse IDE, you need to change a couple of things. In the file sbt.properties that you can find here under servers, you need to comment out the 2 lines that point to IBM Connections on Greenhouse, and replace these lines with the configuration here for SmartCloud using OAuth 2. And here you define your environment. In my case it's the C1 environment. In the case of the 60 days trial it would be the production environment. And here's where I pasted the client ID and client secret. Another thing you need to do in the managed-beans.xml is to change here your default environment so that you don't have to change the application code. And all I had to do here is to switch from IBM Greenhouse to SmartCloud OAuth 2. Now, after you've done that, you are almost finished except of one additional step. The sample against IBM SmartCloud for Social Business only works if you use HTTPS. So you need to change your Tomcat configuration to use HTTPS, and there is some configuration already in that file that you only need to comment out. And you need to also create a so-called key store file, and there's good documentation available here on the Tomcat Apache page that talks about how you create this key store file. After you have followed all of these steps, you can go to the service view in the Eclipse IDE, select your Tomcat server, choose Publish, and then start the Tomcat server from here. Then let me switch over to a web browser and do a refresh. And the first time I do that, I get prompted that I need to log in or authenticate. Actually, in this case, I am already authenticated as Samantha Darren, and Samantha now needs to grant access to her data on behalf of this application. And after she has done that, the profile information is loading up, as well as the list of colleagues, communities, and files. And that's really all that you have to do in order to run and set up this My World type of application against IBM SmartCloud for social business.